Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thanks for hanging out today. So, over the past handful of years that I've been rock hounding here on the Yellowstone River, I've came across so many different kinds of agates. And it's been hard to identify which ones are in which group. Moss agates, fortification agates, moss with fortification agates, you have geode agates, treasure state agates. It gets kind of crazy with how many different agates we can find here on the Yellowstone River. And within, I'd say, the 8 years that I've been rock hounding, I've found a little bit of everything. I guess that I could think of. But today, I just wanted to share all the different stuff that I've found over the years, just to show everyone that the Yellowstone River has so many different kinds of agates, that it's crazy. And I'm not the best with identifying every agate. Often enough, if I'm not too sure, I'll ask some people, see what they come up with, and whatever is the abundant of the same answer, I usually are like, okay, that's probably what the agate is classified as. So I just wanted to show everyone a little bit of what I've accumulated over the years on the Yellowstone. And these are all just agates, there's no jaspers or petrified woods mixed in. It's just what I believe are considered agates from the Yellowstone River that I have self-collected, of course. And pretty much all of these were only collected within a pretty short section of the Yellowstone River because it goes for hundreds of miles. But it'll show how in such a small section of the Yellowstone River that there is such an abundance of just different agates. You don't even have to include the jaspers and petrified woods. So I'm going to move the camera closer and we're just going to start checking everybody out and just show you what I got, see what's out there. So let's just get to it. Alright, we'll start off with this beautiful little treasure state agate. See, these things are completely different than your normal Montana agate. It's just like host rock with fortifications or just goofy patterns like that. And they resemble the South Dakota Fairburn agates, and we're not allowed to call them that because this is Montana, and that's where we're finding them. So, we decided to name them treasure state agates, apparently. So agates like this will be considered treasure state agates here on the Yellowstone River. And this is just a couple of them that I've found. They're just some little guys, but they're definitely some keepers. And this one's even got a nice little druzy pocket on him. But if you ever pick up a rock like this on the Yellowstone River, and you don't know how to classify it, well, treasure state agate is normally what it'll be classified as. See, this one right here, I thought this would be classified as a treasure state agate as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. Since it has such a great fortification pattern in there, it might be classified as a fortification agate. It was just the colors that made me think it was a treasure state agate. And it has that big old quartz pocket right there. So this one I'm torn between fortification agate and treasure state agate. But it's definitely a beautiful agate. And this one right here, this one I'm not sure if it's a fortification agate or treasure state agate once again, because its classification is just, it's so mixed that I'm not 100% sure. And it's got little moss patches, like, see, this one is a very confusing agate, because the outside, I wouldn't consider the outside of this a treasure state agate after looking at these. Completely different. So it's kind of hard to classify some of these agates here on the Yellowstone. Either way, it's beautiful. See, because this agate right here is definitely a fortification agate. And no, that's not a hair on it. That little line of material is in there. I thought it was a hair all the time. I always try and wipe it away. But this is definitely a beautiful fortification agate. And you could really see it on the outside. That's why I really wanted to cut this one. Okay, now we're going to check out some colorful agates. Because the Yellowstone River has so many colorful agates, as you can see right here. This one was a very beautiful green agate that I found a little while back in one of my videos, probably one of my earlier videos. And I put it in the tumbler, and it turned out quite nicely. It's a nice little green agate. Good old quartz pocket running through it. Then I got this nice little pink agate right here. This one's crazy. This is the only pink agate I've ever found. And this thing is really pink. And this little pink agate has a nice fortification pattern in there. And right there too. But this is the only pink agate I've ever found on the Yellowstone. Some that kind of looked pink, but nothing that is just straight pink like this. Oh wait, there's a couple little tubes in there too. Oh man, that's cool. I had no idea there's a couple little tubes hanging out in this agate as well. So let's see, this is a pink fortification tube agate. It's just got so much going on, it's crazy. It has different shades of pink inside that fortification pattern as well. That's just crazy. Crazy little pink agate. But I also got this very nice green moss agate slab. Found this one before I started doing YouTube videos. I took a few slices out of them and polished them up a little bit. Alright, we'll be moving on to the good old geode agates now. Now I've only found a couple agates I'd actually consider a geode agate. Like that one's got a good pocket on it, with some really fine crystals. But this one right here, it was just a one solid agate that I cut right down the middle. And it had a good old geode pocket in there. So I would consider this one a geode agate. You can see some light banding going around the pocket as well. So, yeah, I don't know, a fortified banded geode agate is what maybe you would classify this thing as. I think I've only found maybe one or two like this. So I wonder if you'd consider this one a tube agate, like a black and white tube agate. Because it's got those little tube things going through it. It's got some little inclusions as well. And the good old druzy pocket. Alright, here's one of my darkest agates I've ever found. You can barely see what's going on in there because it's so dark. I'll spray it off and we'll see if we can get a better view of it. There we go, you can see it a little bit better while the water stays on it. But this one, it's got crazy banding pattern and moss everywhere. I guess would be considered a banded moss agate. Now this one, this is a super mossy agate. Or is it a dendrite agate? I'd say those are dendrite stars in it. They go all over except for that back part. But I did take this little one through the tumbler quite a while back. Well, there we go. Now you can see bands going through it too. Almost looks like a string of music notes with all the little dendrites. That's pretty sweet. See, now that I'm getting a close-up of everything, I'm noticing more stuff. But yeah, I guess you just consider this a good old banded dendrite agate? Got a little rough in the tumbler on the back there, but the spots I wanted to be polished up nicely turned out quite beautifully. Alright, right here, we got that crazy golden and red moss agate. Some would call it a plume agate, but I don't think that's what it's classified as. We'll give him a wash real fast. So there we go, check that out. So this is that moss agate that I made the lure with a little while back. Some would call this a plume agate, but I think it may be more mossy than plumey. But that's where it would get mixed up, is it a moss or is it plume? And I thought it was a jasper at first, but I asked around and I was told it's a moss agate. So I'm gonna go with moss agate on this one. A nice golden, yellow, and red moss agate. Completely different from all these other agates I've been finding. Alright, moving up to the big ones now. So this one would be your classic waterline agate. You can see a little bit of it on the outside, like the waterline pocket, right there. Yeah, just your basic waterline agate with this one. There we go. See, this one has some crazy dendrite stars in there. But some people would call it a moss agate. But I believe this is a dendrite agate. But it's also a waterline agate. You can see where that part of the waterline busted off, exposing all those really nice dendrites. I'm sure, yep, there we go. You can see the water lines right through there. So you can see the layering on it. Crazy agate, that's for sure. This was that beautiful treasure state agate, moss agate, fortification agate, all of the above agate, I'd say. Then we got this crazy one right here. It has just so many bands. I thought it would be an iris agate, but when we cut it, I couldn't see any iris in any of the banding, unfortunately. But I might still try more. We'll see. But it has just that crazy banding pattern going all the way around that. I want to say it's a common opal cap, but maybe not. Maybe it's just like a milky quartz cap on there. But those bands go all the way down and all the way around this bad boy. So, I don't know, I'd classify it as a banded agate. Then we got this big old chunk of beautiful moss agate. Or is it dendrite agate? No, since it just got really big dendrite stars in there, I'd guess I'd call it a dendrite agate. A banded one, because once again, it's got bands going all the way around. But would you consider it a fortification agate? Because it's just one solid pattern going around there. So there you go. Now you could really see that fortification pattern going around it. So maybe you'd classify this as a fortification dendrite agate? Interesting. Alright, we'll move on to this big old son of an agate. So this thing is huge. It was a big old 7-pounder. I had cut up a little bit. And this thing just had a huge quartz center. Look at that. But around it, it had a whole bunch of banding. And there is iris in this one. But the slabs, and they are so fractured, as you can see. This agate just took a beating going down the Yellowstone. Every slab we cut had a bunch of fractures. So I just stopped here because they had a pretty cool picture right there. The crazy thing is, cut the backside off of it, it looks completely different than the rest of it. Because it was part of this material right here, and not the quartz. So you can see the agate is just totally different. But it has some super fine banding going through there. So I don't even know what you'd consider this agate. It's, a banded quartz monster agate? I don't even know. But it's a beautiful chunk. And it had iris. Too bad I just wasn't able to polish any pieces because they would have broke. And I got this crazy tube agate that I had cut recently. As you can see, look at all those fractures. Man, that's just unfortunate. For such a beautiful agate. Then you can see where the fractures were running through it on the back too. So there we go. Some crazy tubes going through it. And it looks like brush strokes just swooping through it. It's even got some nice little druzy pockets in there. So I guess I'd identify this agate as a crazy cool tube agate. So now we got this big old chunk right here. So this one you can see it has a nice quartz pocket in there and then some really crazy fortification pattern going around it. It looks like it was spilled in right there. That's pretty sweet. But the quartz pocket on this one goes all the way through it. The front of it had it as well. So that's why I wanted this one cut right here. But I believe this one would be classified as a limb cast because it had the quartz pocket going all the way through it. And I've asked around a few times about agates, rocks that I thought were agates that had that. And so far I've been told that that should classify it as a limb cast. This one right here as well. This one had a quartz center going all the way through it. And it had that hole going through it. Check that out. That's crazy. I had to clean it out the other day. I was like, I did not think that went all the way through the whole rock. So I thought that was pretty cool. Look at right there. It's so dark. Is that smoky quartz in there, you think? That's crazy. I didn't even notice that. So this one might be a limb cast with smoky quartz and iris. I don't know. I guess that's how you identify this thing. But it's got all those little moss patches and inclusions all over it. Definitely an interesting one. So this bad boy right here, this is one of the first agates I ever found on the Yellowstone. It was just hanging out in one of my fishing spots. I believe this one would be classified as a waterline agate. I wonder if all that white right there is a common opal. You see that pattern, it continues on the outside as well, and it did with the rest of the rock. I wonder if you classify that as a fortification, because the pattern, it went all the way around and connected. But as you can see, it's got a lot of fractures in it as well. The slabs I had got broken up a little bit because they're pretty fractury. So I guess you'd classify this maybe as a waterline agate with common opal center. Now these ones right here, I just classify them as big ass agates. Mainly because they are. So I'll grab this big old beast and bring it closer. So there we go, take a look at this big old chunk. See, this one, I'd classify it as just a big old moss agate, really. It's just a big old white and black moss agate. And has that little strip of blue going through it. Definitely couldn't tell from the outside. Only in those little teeny pockets right there did I notice this one was an actual agate. But that top section, you can see it has a cap on it that goes around it. And when I did the slabs, this section broke off, and so did the bottom section. Like it had a water line on the top and the bottom. So a big old chunk, I went tired of holding it. Ugh. Alright, time for this big old beast right here. I'll get it sprayed off real fast, because you can see, it kind of actually does look like it has some banding going through it right there. Right down in here, you can see some banding pattern going around this one. And then it has just a little bit of brown staining, manganese staining up in there as well. Oh, there we go. There's some more bands going through it. There we go. It's really hard to see them, but they're up in there. You never know, this could have iris. It's a big old chunk. So I guess you could classify this beast as a big ass agate with some banding in there. Now this one has crazy bands going around it. Or would you consider these, would you consider it a fortification or just banding? Because it looks like a solid pattern. So I believe you'd consider that a fortification. And it goes all over this big old chunk. The back as well. This agate is just crazy. And I found this in the past video, so if you want to check that out, just scroll through some videos for a 15-pound agate, and this beast will pop up. And that spot right there looks really blue. But sometimes when you cut Montana agates, the blue does go away. It's a certain effect that these agates have. When they're big solid chunks, it'll look like it's blue inside. Until you cut it, and it changes. But once again, I guess you could just classify this as the big ass agate with banding. That was a close call. I almost forgot about one type of agate. The botryoidal agate we got. This thing is a crazy botryoidal, or botryoidal. It depends on how you want to say it, I suppose. But it's got some nice little dendrites. up in the botroidals. There you go. You can see it a little bit better now. The light play with the botroidal looks pretty cool. There you go. You can see it pretty good from this angle. I don't find too many of the botroidal agates out there. Sometimes I'll find them with just little sections of botroidal, but nothing like this where it's just a big old plate. Very crazy. So of course you would classify this beast as a botroidal agate. Good old Yellowstone River botroidal agate. Or botryoidal. Alright, I suppose we'll end off on this bad boy. If you enjoyed today's little video of just showing all the different agates I've got over the years, don't forget to drop a like and a comment, all that good stuff. You share which one was your favorite. I mean, they're all so damn beautiful, it's hard to pick. Especially with this crazy botroidal. Alright, thanks for watching everybody. Have a good day.